my name is Aisana and I'm the clinical lead for e-surgery. Welcome to eHealth Matters podcast, episode 2. Today I'm joined by Lara. Lara, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Lara. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm here today to be answering your questions and hopefully make you feel a little bit more confident about your weight loss journey.
Lara, I'm so excited that you're joining me today for this podcast. I have so many questions myself, but I'm going to try and hold off and we address the questions that we've had from our listeners first. So one of the first questions that we have is about bread. Is whole grain bread better than white bread?
Okay, nice question. So a simple answer for this would be yes. Whole grain bread is normally considered a better option simply because it is a whole grain. This means it includes the bran, which is the outer layer, the germ, which is the nutrient-rich parts, and the endosperm, meaning it's high in fiber. It has all of the vitamins like B vitamins, vitamin E, and minerals like magnesium. Also is lower in glycemic index, which meaning it doesn't spike your blood sugar levels as fast as white bread would.
Okay, so essentially you're saying that the blood sugar levels will increase if you eat white bread?
Faster than whole grain bread, yes.
Fair enough. Okay. So my next question would be, what about rice? So is brown rice better than white rice? And I'm saying that because I cannot part away with white rice. I absolutely love it. And I feel like it's not something that I could say goodbye to. So am I doing something wrong by not cutting white rice out of my diet?
Okay, so you're definitely not alone. Again, brown rice is considered a better option than white rice simply because it is a whole grain.
Okay.
So white rice is made from flour, which means they remove the germ and the bran, which leaves you with the starchy endosperm.
Okay.
This doesn't mean white rice isn't the best option for you. It just means that brown rice offers more nutritional value, especially if you want to increase your fiber intake and manage your blood sugar levels.
I see. Okay. Would you suggest, so for someone who has white rice 5 days a week, would you suggest to maybe cut it down or to just completely switch to brown rice?
Mix it up, have some variety and portion control, yes.
Fair enough. Okay, so variety is the key, just to make sure that we don't expect everyone to just go brown bread, brown rice. It's okay to have a little bit of both. Okay, so thank you for that. That reassures me that I'm not going to feel guilty eating my rice tonight.
You shouldn't.
Next question would be, what types of food should one eat while on weight loss injection treatment?
So you should be focusing on a nutrition-dense, balanced meals to make sure that you are enhancing the effects of these medications and potentially helping any side effects.
Okay.
So first of all, you should be aiming for non-starchy vegetables. Okay. Make sure you fill half of your plates with these. This could be kale, asparagus, cucumber, and there are other options as well.
Okay.
Second, I would recommend going for foods that are lower in glycemic index and fruits as well. So you could choose fruits like berries, apples, or peaches are a great option for this.
Okay, sounds very delicious. In terms of the vegetable that you mentioned as well, is there a list that we could refer to that it can make it simpler for them, I suppose, to know which vegetable are better than the others?
Yes, so there is a chart of low glycemic index fruits, which we can add right here. So you can click and have a look at that.
Amazing, lovely. Which brings me to my next question as well. Vegetables, it's a sore subject for some families with young children. I have 2 very young children and they can be fussy eaters at times as well. Being a busy mum, and I'm sure some of our listeners would also be in the same situation as well, where you end up cooking different meals. So where I'm coming from is, how do we make sure that our listeners will be able to make a dish that would supplement everyone in the family? So is there any friendly vegetables that children will be happy, so mama or dad in the family don't have to cook multiple dishes for everyone?
Yes, so again, I would say making it a little bit more fun for the kids. So if you are, let's say, cooking a curry, if you add a whole bag of spinach in it, the spinach is going to go away and they are probably not going to see the spinach or taste it as well. So this can be a small little trick that you can add to your meals. Making it fun for the kids so it's easier for them to consume vegetables.
I see. Okay. So what else can someone who's on the weight loss injection treatment incorporate in their diet?
So like I mentioned, whole grains. So brown rice, quinoa, and oats are a good option, as well as healthy fats. So avocados, olive oil, and nuts, but in moderation.
I need to learn how to say quinoa because I always struggle with it. This is really interesting in terms of what dietary changes one needs to do.
Yeah, so it's important to focus on the proteins, so such as fish, eggs, turkey, and chicken can be a good option. These not only provide protein, but they can help you preserve muscle mass, which is especially important in your weight loss journey.
Amazing. I have one question when it comes to chicken. Is there a specific, or because this could be generally for meat in general, is there a specific part of the chicken or the meat that you need to eat? Because, for example, breast versus thigh meat, because I know one contains more fat content than the other.
Yes, so again, it's about preference. However, if you are consuming chicken every day or every other day, I would recommend going for the breasts rather than the thighs, because the thighs are higher in fat.
I see, okay. And how about if you're on a plant-based diet or vegetarian in general?
So if you are eating a plant-based diet, you can still get those proteins in by protein plant-based products.
Okay.
So these can be beans, lentils, and tofu, and chickpeas are great sources.
Yeah.
Also, I did forget to mention omega-3s. So you should be focusing on omega-3 rich fish like salmon, mackerels, and sardines.
Okay.
And for vegans or vegetarians, your sources would be walnuts, flax seeds, and chia seeds.
And what about supplementation? So let's say you're allergic, you're vegan or vegetarian, and you can't have any of the, and you also have an allergy to nuts, so you can't eliminate the walnuts. What would you do? Would you say it's advisable to have supplements that have high content of omega-3?
So again, yes, ideally, if you don't even eat fish, it is recommended to take omega-3. Also, if you're not able to get enough plant-based proteins, we do recommend eating fortified foods. And again, if you don't, vitamin B12 is something to think about, for sure.
See. Okay, amazing. So, a silly question. What does fortified mean?
Okay, so it's basically food that has added vitamins and minerals inside of it.
Okay, and does that mean it's bad or good for you?
Again, it depends on your general diet. However, let's give an example. Vitamin D. Right now, we're not able to get vitamin D because unfortunately it's not sunny outside. And oat milk tends to have vitamin D in it.
Yeah.
So again, this can be beneficial for you.
I see. Okay, fantastic. So if you, advice I'm assuming would be if you can get it from an unfortified source, then do that. But if you have no other option, then that's okay to have fortified.
Yes, definitely.
Fantastic, lovely. And what types of food do you think people who are on the weight loss journey with injectables should avoid eating?
Okay, so again, good question, because there are certain foods that can counteract with the effectiveness of the medication. So first of all on our list is high sugary foods and drinks.
Okay, surely that's not good for anybody, whether you are on the weight loss injections or not.
So the advice I will be giving is mostly general, and it is even if you're on weight loss treatments or if you're not as well.
I see, okay.
So sugary foods and drinks, these can cause rapid spikes and drops in your blood sugar.
Okay.
So again, I would recommend avoiding them.
And is there anything else they need to avoid?
Yes, so refined carbs, again, like high sugar foods, they can cause sugar spikes, rapid sugar spikes.
Do you tell me more about the refined carbs? What does that mean?
Okay, so again, like I mentioned previously, instead of going for white rice, brown rice can be a better option.
You can see I have a short memory, so it's really good that I have you here to advise on these dietary changes. Okay, so refined items.
Yes, so go for whole grains instead.
Whole grains, I see, okay, that's the word, refined whole grains. Okay, what else?
So the other one on our list would be fried foods and high-fat foods.
Okay, so basically don't have a fryer.
So, depends how often you're consuming it. It is okay to consume it now and then, however, not generally, no. Since you're on weight loss medications, high-fat foods can make your possible side effects like nausea and vomiting worse. So I would recommend avoiding them.
Right, okay. So just to clarify, someone might say, actually, I don't have nausea or vomiting, so it's okay if I have a fry-up. You know, I've been really good with my weight loss journey and I want to treat myself to a fry-up. That's okay. It's just not recommended to have high levels of fat.
It will interfere with your weight loss journey, especially if you're on weight loss injections.
Okay, all right, that's brilliant. Is there anything else that you would recommend our listeners to avoid?
For meat eaters, it would also be ultra-processed foods.
Okay.
So food like bacon and sausages, because they are high in saturated fats. Again, I would recommend avoiding them, and the recommended amount is less than a poundful a day.
Okay. That's not that much, actually.
Yes, no, it's
that
not.
Really isn't that much. Lovely. So what about our plant-based, vegetarian and vegan listeners as well? Is there anything they need to avoid? In my head, you know, I eat meat, and in my head, anything to do with vegetarian is healthy. Mm-hmm. However, recently it's been brought to my attention that that's not the case. So what advice or what food should our listeners avoid if they are on those kind of diets?
Okay, so for vegetarians and vegans, processed foods like ready-made veggie burgers and frozen pizzas, again, they are very convenient. They are good options. However, they can be high in hidden sugars, unhealthy fats, and additives.
So just because on the packaging says plant-based, it doesn't mean it's healthy for you.
No, definitely check the ingredients.
Check the ingredients. And is there obviously on the packaging of a lot of foods that we buy from supermarkets, it will have a traffic light system. What are we looking on those packaging when it comes to plant-based food? Are we looking for high content of fat in there, or are there the tiny lists of ingredients that they have at the back of it that I personally don't look at most of the time?
Okay, so the label packaging on the front can be a good option if you're not interested in reading the back bit with the ingredients. So just make sure you're going for the amber or the green option. Of course, green better.
And this is to do with fat content, not salt or anything else?
All of them.
All of them, okay.
Ideally, you want to keep an eye on all of them.
I see, okay. And they should all either be green or possibly amber, okay.
There will be times where it's not.
Okay.
Again, sugar or salt might be on red. Again, it is okay, just in moderation.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, we could do that. So a question that always baffles me is keto diet. What is keto diet? And is keto diet a healthy diet for weight loss injection treatment?
Okay, good question. The relationship between a keto diet and weight loss treatment, such as GLP-1 medications, does require careful consideration. The diet is low in carbs and high in fats, so many GLP-1 medications recommend a moderate fat intake for optimal results.
Okay.
However, the ketogenic diet typically has around 70 to 80% of your calories daily from fats, which when combined together, it can cause gastrointestinal discomfort.
I was just going to say that does not make sense at all to me. In terms of all the advice we've given so far, we've been saying to avoid high content of fat. So, I mean, alarm bells just went off in my head that no keto. Is that what you're basically saying?
So for some people, again, it can help promoting fat loss, and it can improve insulin sensitivity. However, if you're not under medical supervision, I would ideally not recommend it and would recommend for you to go for a more balanced approach with moderate fat intake.
So just for our listeners, I would like to emphasize in terms of the clinical appropriateness of keto diet is probably not recommended. In terms of the clinical appropriateness of using keto alongside weight loss medication is more likely that it's not a good option for you. What we do recommend when you are on weight loss injection treatments would be to stick to a balanced, healthy diet and also to follow the NHS advice for exercise levels as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't really like the sound of that, Lara, to be honest. So please don't do the keto unless you've been advised otherwise by a healthcare professional. So would you say if you want to follow the keto diet, wait till you completely come off the injections, and once you've stopped that, then if that's advisable for you by a healthcare professional, then yeah, you're fine to do that. Okay. But while you're on the injection treatments, try and avoid that.
Again, because weight loss injections and treatments can have side effects to them as well. When you do first start a keto diet, there is something called keto flu. So these come with symptoms like headaches, nausea, and fatigue.
Okay.
So when this is combined with GLP-1 medication side effects, again, it's not a good combination.
Absolutely. That makes total sense. What about junk food? Snacking and eating things that you know is not good for you. They're guilty pleasures.
Okay. Depends what you would consider as junk food.
Okay. So a bag of crisps, a chocolate bar, maybe 1 or 2 chocolate bars. So again, going back to my own experience as a mum as well, I'm sure some parents who are watching this will probably relate to this. You put the kids to bed and all you look forward to is sitting on the sofa and eating junk food. That's what usually happens. I'm not recommending it. It's not advisable. You know, after a long day, you just want to relax and just the guilty pleasure kind of kicks in.
Wind down, yes.
Wind down, absolutely. Wind down and just snack on things that you shouldn't be snacking. What would your advice be when it comes to junk food?
Okay, so I know that you're not alone in this. I feel like everyone has the same question. So it is totally fine to have an occasional treat now and then. It's just the most important question is how often. So since you are on weight loss injections, your aim is to lose weight. And having regular junk food can interfere with your weight loss journey.
I see. Okay.
So for me, junk food would personally be foods that are high in calories but low in nutritional value.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So chocolate bar, high in calories, and definitely really not good for your nutritional value.
But pizza and hamburgers, I personally wouldn't consider them as junk food.
I see. Okay. And why is that?
Again, because with, let's say, a homemade hamburger, you have your protein, you have your carbs, you can add tomato and lettuce for some veggies. So when it's combined together, again, it can be a good option.
Oh, I'm so glad that you refer to the wider range of foods, because in my head, when you asked me, I was just thinking crisps, chocolates, you know, all the sugary snacks, really. I didn't think about a takeaway that you can get, you know, Friday night chips.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would you consider that as junk food then?
Again, it depends.
Because it's high in fat, high in carbs, and doesn't really have that much nutritional values.
So I would recommend, instead of going for chips from takeaway, definitely try to make them at home.
Okay.
Best way to go.
Interesting. It does take a bit longer.
It does.
It doesn't taste as good, but as an occasional treat, yeah, I'm sure that will be fine.
There is a reason why it doesn't taste the same. Of all the unhealthy fats they use, that's why they do have a different taste to them.
Okay, so because they're bad for you, they taste good. Always is the way, always.
There is no good and bad food.
Okay.
So I wouldn't recommend categorizing food as good or bad.
Okay.
There are just some that offer more nutritional value than others.
That's very insightful of you to say. It really does, from what I'm gathering from you, is you really need to change the way that you look at food and your diet and not put so much pressure on, oh my God, I can't have that, that's bad for me, rather than, is that actually bringing any nutritional value? Is that going to help me on my weight loss journey? Do you agree?
Yes, again, food is amazing. I love any kind of food, and the more nutritious, the better. Like you were talking about crisps a minute ago. So if you are really craving something, let's say you really want crisps, it's okay to savor that. It's okay to satisfy your cravings.
Yeah.
So go and buy those crisps.
Okay.
Have them.
Yeah.
However, practice portion control. So instead of buying a big packet of crisps and sitting in front of a TV and just eating mindlessly, yes, try to go for a small 30-gram pack.
Okay.
And eat without any distractions and chew thoroughly and really savor the taste.
Yeah.
This will make you feel satisfied with less.
Oh my God, I love that. That's such a great idea. And kind of just talking about it satisfied my craving for it. Okay. How about any raw vegetables? Are raw vegetables okay to have while you're on the weight loss injections?
Oh yeah, totally. Raw vegetables are amazing. They're high in nutrients. They're low in calories. They're high in fiber. which again supports all your goals.
I have a question for that. Sometimes with raw vegetables, there are some side effects with it. Bloating comes along to my mind. How do we manage it? Is there a specific type of vegetables that you need to avoid?
Okay, so high fiber vegetables like kale, broccoli, or Brussels sprouts and cabbage can cause digestive issues. These vegetables are complex carbohydrates, meaning they have something called raffinose. This is hard to digest. When this passes on to the large intestine, the gut bacteria ferments them. And in this fermentation process, you get stuff like carbon dioxide and hydrogen, which causes bloating.
Okay.
So yes, some vegetables can cause this. If you are suffering from these side effects, I would recommend going for more gentle vegetables like bell peppers, cucumbers, or lettuce.
What is the ideal calorie intake for one day for someone who's on their weight loss medication?
Okay, so it is different for everybody and it's based on several factors like your height, weight, age, gender, and activity levels. So if you log onto the internet and write calculates my BMR, you will be able to first calculate your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. It's basically the minimum amount of energies and calories you need for your body to stay alive when you're sleeping, eating, breathing, anything.
And this all consumes calories, and you can work out whether you're in a calorie deficient.
Yes, so calorie deficit is the key.
Okay.
So once you calculate your BMR, second, you should multiply this number by your activity levels. Again, the internet will help you do that.
Okay.
And to lose weight, the third thing that you'll need to do is reduce this number by 500 calories per day for a safe weight loss.
How would you know your activity level? Like, how can you quantify it? So put my hands up. I don't do a lot of actual activity other than running around, doing, to work, walking around the house, doing housework. I don't actually physically go to the gym and do activity. So how would you quantify if you're not after the gym?
Okay, so again, on the online sources, it will give you an example of the numbers that you would have to multiply it with. So for you, if you are sedentary and if you are desk-based, this number would be 1.3.
I see. Okay. Right. That's really interesting. I'm actually going to have a look at that.
Yes, please do.
So just going back to the question, that's how you would work out how many calories you need, your BMR basically. And then you said that you take away 500 from that value?
After you have multiplied it with your activity levels.
I see. Okay.
Yes, third step is reduce that number by 500 to get a calorie deficit.
I see. And that is the total amount of calorie you should be aiming for while you're on the weight loss treatment.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense to me now.
Just one thing I would like to mention is please, please, please avoid very low calorie diets.
Okay.
Yes, because they are, unless it's supervised by a healthcare professional, it can cause negative effects in the long term.
Okay, and what is low calorie? What is low?
800 calories a day.
Okay. I'm actually glad you brought this up because couple of years ago, I came across, I think it was actually a TV show program, and I ended up purchasing the cookbook for it as well, which is the 800 calorie diet. So, and I remember once I incorporated that within my lifestyle, I was absolutely starving because I was in a calorie deficit and I had literally had no energy. So is that something that you would say is acceptable to follow the 800 calorie diet, or definitely not while you're on the weight loss treatment?
Our main goal is long-term success and habits that are going to be sustainable. It's not going to be sustainable if you are consuming less than 800 calories a day.
Yeah.
So whilst I would say it's okay if you are on it for a short period of window, for long-term, I wouldn't recommend it.
I think it's absolutely making sense not to do all of these kind of fad diets because, as you said, it's not sustainable. So it's best to try and change your mindset. We talked about this before, to try and have a better relationship with food. And while you're on the weight loss journey, it will help you have more sustainable weight loss in the long term.
Okay, so I just wanted some clarity about two phrases that I keep hearing. One is the intermittent fasting, and the other one is the time restricted diet.
Yes.
Yeah, what do they mean? Are they advisable for us to not eat for a prolonged amount of time?
Okay, so time restricted eating is basically when you limit your eating window to a certain amount of time.
Okay.
So time restricted eating doesn't really focus on the calories that you eat or the nutritional value. So it's just about creating eating windows.
Right.
However, it is as important as your eating windows.
And what is the time frame roughly? We don't have to be specific because I appreciate that's not what we're here to advise our listeners with. But it's, let's just say, an overview. Is it, for example, you don't eat from 8 p.m. till 8 a.m. the next day, and then you have a period of eating? And is this a time frame where you are eating? Do you have to restrict your calorie, or can you eat whatever you want and then don't eat for like 12 hours?
Okay, so it is typically between 8 to 12 hours. However, this can depend on your personal preferences and your schedule. So if you have never tried it before, I would recommend starting with a 12-hour fast overnight. So let's say, yes, you can have your last meal at 8 p.m. and then have your first meal at 8 a.m.
And would this be okay if you're on the weight loss injection? Just because one of the side effects or one of the complications with the weight loss treatment would be lower blood sugar levels. So I'm assuming if you're not eating for a long period of time, there is a possibility that your blood sugar will drop.
So yes, it can. So even though that intermittent fasting does have benefits to it, combining them with weight loss treatments can potentially make you have low blood sugar and make you feel more fatigued and could cause nutrition deficiencies. So every person is different. What works for you might not work for someone else.
Yeah. And I suppose it goes back to the same conversation we had before. It's not sustainable, right?
It's not sustainable if you're on weight loss treatments. However, again, it is better for you to have a potential earlier dinner. So let's say 4 to 5 hours before you go to sleep. So you don't sleep straight away after you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you are having an early dinner, let's say at 7, and then you have your first breakfast at 9 or 10, this could be sustainable.
I see. So, I mean, it makes sense because that's what children do, right?
It is.
That's brilliant. So they don't eat from, 7 p.m. in the evening till the next morning, right? So that it does make sense. Again, I'm not condoning that this is what we should be doing, but it does make sense to me. What I also wanted to double check as well with you is there a specific diet plan for people who are not eligible for weight loss treatment?
Okay, so I would say even if you're on weight loss treatment or not, the main thing that you should be focusing on is a balanced meal and a healthy lifestyle.
Okay. And we hear these words a lot, if you're on social media, if you're watching TV, it's the balanced diet and healthy lifestyle. It's quite repetitive, but actually doing it and implementing it and being constant with these changes is probably the hardest part. At least I find it to be the hardest.
It is, but it's about making small changes and focusing on these small changes and actually celebrating these small changes. So, example for one, staying hydrated. This is key, even if you're on weight loss injections or medications or if you're not. So you should be trying to get water in your daily routine, 6 to 8 glasses a day, and try to fit it into your routine. So let's say whilst you're cooking, you can make the habit to have a glass of water whilst you're cooking, and then let's say another glass of water after you're cooking and you're cleaning. So building it and making it for a habit for you. Also, the second thing would be get active. So definitely stay active. You've mentioned that you don't go to the gym, which is completely fine and it is okay. I personally didn't like exercising as well. I would say the gym is my worst enemy.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything worse than being in a gym.
Yeah.
I would rather go on long walks, be outside, be outdoors, or do something fun like dancing. So Zumba, again, it's different for everybody. So it's important to focus on what you would like to enjoy to do.
And what you will keep up as well in the long term.
It is, yes.
makes sense. Just going to circle back to having the healthy diet as well. I think we can all agree in the current climate, the cost of living, having a healthy diet is actually really expensive.
It can be.
And also, obviously, if you're already receiving treatment for weight loss, there's the cost implications of it as well. Thinking about a family of 4 who does the food shop and buying vegetables and fruit and cooking everything from scratch, it can be very costly. Do you have any advice on how to bring those costs down and still maintain a healthy diet?
So the first thing I would recommend for this would be batch cooking. Again, it's easier, and so you're avoiding any kind of food waste. Anything that you don't eat, you could freeze and put in your freezer, and you can reheat and eat again.
Okay.
Also, instead of having animal proteins such as chicken, fish, they can be quite expensive. You could go for beans and lentils in cans. Again, they are high in nutrition value.
What about frozen food? Would you say they don't have as much nutritional value? So let's take up a broccoli, florets of broccoli compared to a bag of frozen broccoli. What would be the difference between that? Because obviously one is cheaper than the other.
Again, I would say it's totally fine to do so if you prefer it. And they can be cheaper, they can be a better option. And I'm going to refer to the question that you said before with your kids not liking vegetables. So you can just mix it up and make variety. So let's say they don't want to eat broccoli. You can add a frozen broccoli to their smoothies. Let's say if you make a smoothie for them in the morning.
Yeah.
It can be a good option for them to eat their vegetables, and also potentially cheaper option for you to cook vegetables.
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you. And that brings us to the end of this episode of our eHealth Matters podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much, Lara, for being here today. I've learned so much from you, and we can't wait to join you on our next episode with more information. Thank you.
Thank you.